It's called a promo, kid.
Shut your mouth,
if you want to
John.
be the big dog, you're going to have to learn how to do it. So go ahead.
You ready? No! I said, are you ready?
That was good. I'm glad you finally decided to pull that giant stick out of your butt and have some fun for once in your life.
You're uneducated marks! You sit there on your phones tweeting out your opinions like they're worth a damn. Let me explain something to you people. You don't know shit!
And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon.
Okay, I'm starting off showing off this hoodie. This is Saturday night's main event hoodie. And maybe if I stand up, maybe I can show the back. I don't know. It's kind of a short stint. It's a cool hoodie, right? So,
Hey, hoodie. I'm over here punching things. It's fun.
the WrestleMania checkpoint episode, what's that? It's the fact that it's the road to WrestleMania, and in the way we do our episodes now in this new season, we don't really cover everything that's been going on. So that's what this is. We're just going to do a little quick checkpoint before we get to WrestleMania a week before. Like, okay, we got a week. What's going on?
What do we want to talk about?
That's why we came here today. And I got my computer up. Before we start, I want to do a very quick, what do you want to talk about? Okay, I want to talk about the biggest debut in wrestling.
Okay.
No, I'm not talking about The Rock or John Cena. I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3 Kid debut or Fandango's debut. This is bigger. Today is the long-awaited debut we have highly been anticipating for many, many months. This is officially the debut of the Ring Genitals shirt. I finally got one in. I'm not here to show you a Saturday night's main event jacket. That's why the jacket's even on.
Thank you.
Big reveal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I demand your attention for the Ring Genitals.
Genital.
Let's go. Yeah, I had to show that off. I wanted to give him a quick swerve with the Saturday night's main event hoodie.
Okay. I didn't even register. I didn't even think about it.
Not only that, available on our store, but you can get one of these cool hats, one of these cool mugs. We got it all on our store. Links in the description.
Give me a hell yeah!
I have it on good authority that the That's Fair design is near completion.
I love it. Yeah, this episode today is not sponsored by anything other than go to our store and buy some merch because we got some great merch, and I'm wearing it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Give me a hell yeah!
Okay, next. This part's fun. I'm going to show this up on the episode screen. This is something, I sent this to the group chat too. I found on Netflix.com. Netflix, the carrier of Monday Night Raw, mind you. So I was catching up on the road to WrestleMania. I was, getting ready for this episode. And I use Netflix as a source to read off the card and such. But also when I did that, I found that they have a typo in here. Maybe they actually think it's true. I don't know. But they put in here that John Cena won the Royal Rumble. And that's not the truth. John Cena has not won the Royal Rumble. At least not this year. He hasn't.
In a weird, bizarre world. I mean, so here's the thing.
What do we want to talk about?
I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you. Neither of the Royal Rumble winners are main eventing either night.
Yeah. I feel like we know that much.
Yeah, so let that sink in. Maybe they're gaslighting themselves into believing that a Royal Rumble winner is main eventing one of the nights.
You can believe your own lies. Okay. That's
Hulk Hogan levels.
That is as close to a logical answer as I've heard. So even that said, I still use them as a source, and they update. I watch them update their card day by day, watch them update all the fixes and the additions and matches, but they never corrected that typo is what I found funny. On top of this, they kept going back and correcting matches and adding ones. And they never said, yeah, let's fix this issue.
Fickle!
Yeah.
Fine.
They're fickle!
So I'm going to pull up the 41 card now, and we're going to get a good old look at it. I'm not going to read it from top to bottom because I feel like I want to get into the bigger matches later. So I'm going to start from the bottom to the top, actually. starting with the New Day versus the War Raiders, which didn't have too much of a build-up leading up to like just a week or so ago.
So here's the thing. You've got the New Day and the War Raiders. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil you another one, right? The SmackDown Tag Team Championships, or I guess are they the World or the? I don't keep up. Whichever tag team titles SmackDown has,
The
not on
WWE
the
tag
WrestleMania card.
titles.
Yeah, they're not on the WrestleMania card. They're on the SmackDown before.
Right. Which doesn't count
Even
as
though, go ahead.
I just said which doesn't count as WrestleMania. In case people want to say WrestleMania SmackDown counts, it doesn't count. That's SmackDown.
Yeah. Even though the SmackDown tag division has had more cohesion and continuity than the Raw tag division the entire year.
Yeah.
I give that a firm yeah. That was a firm yeah.
Yeah.
What? I get it, New Day, I guess, but
No, you just made the list.
Yeah.
it's stupid.
Now I'll save all predictions for the predictions episode, which is in like a week from now. It'll be during WrestleMania week. But I will say who I'm rooting for is the War Raiders. I think I put them over on the show plenty enough to get a good idea that I'm going for the War Raiders all the way.
War.
Now this match right here, right above it, Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, recently got announced, and it just got an added stipulation to it that's not written here. It's like a Reno street fight, or I might have to
It's
relook
a
it up.
Sin City street fight.
Thank you. Sin City Street Fight. I don't have to look nothing up.
Makes sense. Damian Priest, Street King. And it's the only way to make this feel Mania worthy, I guess. Although I didn't realize, I guess I forgot that McIntyre was the one that Priest-screwed last WrestleMania.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. I think maybe a lot of us forgot about it, but it's conducive to the story.
And so it does kind of make sense the more you think about it. I think it has potential to win over some people with the match itself. They're both solid people. They can both work solid in the ring, so it could win people over like that. But like as a match, people were looking forward to the build and everything. I didn't see a lot of people excited, and I guess not really myself either.
Yeah, I look at it from a personal standpoint. As this man, it has this long build to it and a good backstory, and I'm not that interested. But I'll admit, Sin City Street Fight makes things more interesting. I say it all the time, like as a hardcore mark, you just throw in some weapons and I'm interested. It doesn't take much.
Just keep the glass away from McIntyre's eye this time, guys.
Oh my gosh. Here's one that I feel like should have an added stipulation to it. This match should be mask for mask. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano, which is what I'm drinking in this Wrestling in the Middle mug.
Thank you.
Has nobody else realized that that's like a coffee reference too? El Grande Americano.
Is it? My God.
The large Americano. Anyway.
I don't know how I feel about it, and I get it, Rey Mysterio, and it's a shame that Chad Gable gets left off of the WrestleMania again.
Yeah.
But I don't. When you have other titles missing from your WrestleMania show and you put this match on there, it kind of feels a little disrespectful.
I'll say this much. I feel like WWE has the opportunity to pull the biggest swerve and reveal this wrestler as somebody like we would never expect. Like Charlie Haas or somebody pulled up.
That would be hilarious.
I know that Chris Masters is too buff to do it, but like, man, they could really swerve us.
They could, but will they?
Fickle.
We'll see. I have a feeling. I feel like something has to happen during this match. Whether it's, I don't know, El Grande Americano gets unmasked, or celebrity interference, like we all probably expect.
I'm like all the way convinced he's getting the mask taken off.
That's fair.
Here's one that I feel like we're going to spend a small amount of time on because there's different ways a Fatal 4-Way could go, and I'm really, really into this whole movement right now that Dominic Mysterio is the new Eddie Guerrero, and he looks great with an Intercontinental title. So that's what I want out of this Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio IC title match. Not a prediction.
Not a prediction, just
yeah, I can't get predictions yet, but who am I rooting for? Man, I'm really on a Dominic Mysterio bandwagon right now.
I want Finn. I just want him to go on a run like he had in his return to NXT, but I know better. I know better.
Deserves of that's fair.
Drink it in, man.
NC Penta is one of my favorites. He's one of my favorite luchadors. And so it's kind of surprising that I wouldn't be going for him. As a fan, I'm not rooting for him. It'd be really cool for him to win an Intercontinental title so soon. But nah, man, I'm on this movement. Latino Heat movement.
That's also fair.
That's awesome. I can't show off this shirt enough.
Such a good shirt, man. I should have worn my Wrestling in the Middle shirt, which you can get from. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, you have that exclusive.
Yeah. You can't get that one, I guess. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
You can get one similar on the store. You can't get that exact one because that one was homemade in-house.
Thank you. Instead, you can get Joe Hinton. Could you imagine?
Put over Pro Wrestling Tees. I put him over enough. Okay.
No, I mean, what if we had a deal with Joe Hendry? I mean,
no, I was getting ready to move on to the next match, but before I just leave this Fatal 4-Way, I want to say I do see it, as most Intercontinental title matches, I see it having potential to steal the show. If done right, which probably will be, it could steal the show.
Banger after banger.
Definitely. I just hope that. How can Braun Breaker outdo that Carlito Spear? I'm just wondering.
Braun Strowman. Braun Breaker.
He'll find a way, especially at WrestleMania.
All three of them.
Yeah, at WrestleMania, you find a way to make things bigger and better.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a hell yeah.
All right.
Okay. Jade Cargill versus Naomi.
Congratulations on getting a women's feud on WrestleMania that's not for a title. I have to end 2 black women as well.
I was about to throw it in there if you weren't. I was like on top of that. Because, yeah, that's a big deal. For especially the year we've had in criticism, they needed a little bit of that.
Yeah, so, and it's, I love the back and forth they've had, especially on Smackdown today. I love this new character Naomi has.
Thank you.
The problem I have here is I feel like Naomi should win.
Mm-hmm. Same. But that's me. And like I'm not a big Jade Cargill fan, so there's a little bit of bias there. Like, okay, Naomi, who I've watched for years and cheered for years, versus somebody who's been around for a cup of tea, and she didn't even drink that cup of tea out of this Wrestling in the Middle mug.
Fickle. They're fickle.
Nope.
Cheap plug. Okay.
Hey, proceed with caution.
I love it. And I love that outfit. Again, it reminds me of Owen Hart. I think I might have said that, or maybe I haven't said that somewhere on here. I say a lot of things, but it reminds me of Owen Hart.
Yeah, I have bad memories, so I'm not quite sure, but...
Oh, you didn't know?
Okay.
Next.
Moving on to the next one. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title, which is good. Which is a good thing. And we were talking about this on the pre-show. I'll bring it up again. Jacob Fatu has had one of the most amazing debut years, from starting at a pay-per-view to having all these amazing matches down the line. If he doesn't win the U.S. title, what was it all for?
At the same time, LA Knight just got that title back, and he's still super over.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a hard one. I kind of want Jacob to win, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I think the tear he's going to go on when he has that title.
I'm going to be a little disappointed if he does it. Not that I'm like, oh, man, I'm so big on Jacob Fatu and I hate LA Knight. No, I want to see a story get finished. I think we all do.
What do we want to talk about?
Now,
that's what we were here a year ago.
On that note, here's a great one. Because this year we had a huge moment happen when WWE finally introduced women's mid-card titles, and neither one can be defended at WrestleMania. Or do you think Chelsea Green will end up getting a match on the card? You know, Friday on Smackdown, we saw Zelina Vega get a win. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like they should have set that up if they. I mean, if we're gonna do it, here's the thing: if they did it with the tag team titles, then at least do it with the mid card title, the women's mid card titles.
Right.
And when I mean tag team, I mean the men's tag team titles. Then do the opposite with, or do the same, but with the women's mid card titles. Have one, at least one defended. And since we obviously know someone, the other champion is in another match.
Yeah.
But it's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. More ways to get more women on the card. Chelsea is obviously super over. Lyra is a workhorse.
Exactly. That plays exactly into what I was about to say as far as those titles, which are TV titles, mid-card titles or TV titles, and on TV they have been some of the most conducive things going. Lyra with putting on banger match after banger match. Chelsea having one of the most over storylines right now. So, and on that note, I feel like the women's U.S. title is a little bit more interesting than the men's right now. So,
I feel like, so first of all, you have Roxanne. You could have slotted her in there.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're missing people like Becky, who, I mean, even though she's a main eventer, you could have any amount of possibilities. We're missing 3/4 of Damage Control.
Damn. You're reminding me of people who aren't going to be at WrestleMania this year that I kind of forgot about, and I hate to say it because no one wants to forget Becky Lynch. She's the man, but she just hasn't been around in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that's her right, and I hope it was her choice. I hope it not something else going on back.
Amen. Amen.
You have to be careful about that sort of thing nowadays because, man, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
What you were lightly brushing over with Lyra, the IC champion, is that she's in a different match now. As of Friday on SmackDown, her and Bayley are the number one contenders for the women's tag titles at WrestleMania. So, which, hey, 2 belts Lyra, I'm here for it.
See, there were a couple, obviously that match had a couple of thrown together teams, or I guess 2, Lyra and Bayley and Natty and Maxine, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of thrown together. I don't know. But then you have Kaden and Katana, who would be amazing back in that, challenging for the titles. And then Alba and Piper, who are really, gelling and my God, just the fact that Alba can go out there and make any tag team finisher work by doing a swanton into anything is just.
Yeah.
But no, I was kind of rooting for Alba and Piper. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, when they came out, I had texted you. I was like, I don't know who I'm rooting for now. Especially with Chelsea's gimmick again being so over, and I love the Hervis, the secret Hervis. I love it all. So seeing a little bit more get added to it, I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Hell yeah! Because I don't see Alba staying long. I'm gonna be perfectly honest.
Ouch.
So having her have a WrestleMania moment before she's released. Let's be honest. A year from now, she's still here. You can quote me with this, and you can shove it in my face and say, "Yeah, you said this." But at the moment, I don't see her staying another year.
Yeah.
Having that WrestleMania moment would have been great, but Lyra and Bayley.
Drink it in, man.
Seeing Mako Satomura have a WrestleMania moment before her career was over, that was something we all wanted. There's just people who aren't going to get that, but I'm really hoping you're wrong on Alba Fire being released within a year. Let's put that on predictions we don't want to come true.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I wish I was adding a more positive note onto this, but I'm adding more sadness. I was sad about Kevin and Randy getting canceled. Then I heard a rumor Aleister Black would be a surprise opponent for Orton. I don't know how much validity there is to that, but
we have these vignettes that have been airing that are clearly for Aleister. but I had to kind of mull it over in my mind. I was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Alistair fights Randy for what?
For what?
So the reason why they fight still doesn't make sense to me, but what comes out of it does make sense to me, which is you could have Alistair missed Randy. Randy goes 100% like evil Randy and goes on a tear on what could be one of his last few years in wrestling.
Okay, you're cooking.
Drink it in, man.
But other than that, I don't see like cool pop. Alistair showed up. All right, I would have got the same. Honestly, I would have got the same feeling if they just had Alistair come out or you know how Miz every year has a segment where he gets beat up by someone, right?
Yes.
This year, Miz does his usual thing. Maybe I guess Mello's with him. I hate it, but whatever.
Mellow don't miss. Let's go.
Lights out. Alistair shows up and like kicks both their heads off. Boom. That's how you get Alistair there.
Alistair don't miss.
I kind of wanted to see Nick Aldis get in the ring.
Yeah, I was thinking, back on Smackdown again, I was thinking Nick Aldis might give Randy a run. And I was like, hey, that would be awesome. Nick Aldis gets a WrestleMania match against Randy Orton, someone I've never seen him face. It's huge.
Yeah.
No. It looks to me, actually, that they're building Solo in Randy.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. And I'm kind of glad we have all these seeds rather than some people were thinking that the Kevin Owens whole neck injury is a work into the storyline, and I feel like that's just too poor taste. I feel like that they're not going to go that route, and if they are, that's way too poor taste for me. I'd be disappointed. Like, nah.
I feel like if they were to do that, they would have done that like the same day. Because honestly, when the report first came out, I was like, and Kevin came out, I was like, oh no, this is a swerve, right? Kevin's about to come out here and he's going to see all this. Randy's going to show up and then he's going to pull the old salmon jacket. No, it does seem very legit, yeah.
Looks like we've had enough talk.
I love the salmon jacket reference. Shout out to Mark Henry, but we're not going to shout him out too heavily. Mine is best friend.
Fair.
Now, speaking of best friends, we're getting to the big triple threat, night one's main event, and this has had a huge build up to it, but also this is a moment where I feel like I almost get to give an I told you so, because my prediction for the favor CM Punk was holding on to was pretty close. Excuse my language. It's pretty close. Punk did ask Paul Heyman to leave Roman Reigns in some sense. I was thinking permanently.
Fickle. They're fickle.
No, but at the same time, like, you should know that if you ask anyone to leave Roman Reigns, it's almost permanently.
So I told you so.
Yeah. So, yeah, but honestly, the way it's looking, that's predictions. As far as like, the match, it'll be pretty good, right?
I could give predictions all day, but that's for then. And the match is, I feel like, it's worthy of a main event. I don't know. Again, you kind of sacrifice a Royal Rumble winner's main event at the expense of it, going back to what we're talking about. But it's worthy of a main event, and CM Punk is somebody who should have main evented WrestleMania 29 against The Undertaker. Again, splitting hairs here now. But he's worthy of it. You can't argue that much.
Yeah, I think the implications will be interesting, and I saw that Roman Reigns is going to take some time off.
He's always taking time off after Mania.
Yeah,
and that's a whole other aspect to it. Is like we have this long running streak of Roman Reigns having to main event to WrestleMania. He's obviously not main eventing night 2. That's Cody and John Cena's spot. So we have to give him night 1 to keep that streak going, but it does. You're doing it at the expense of literally his family.
Yeah,
Jey Uso can't even get his main event, but he's main event Jey Uso.
Oh my God! This is why I think This is the first WrestleMania since Triple H took over where things seem a little chaotic.
He's got good matches, just in a weird order.
Not just a weird order, but just kind of like obviously some things were not his fault, right? The Kevin Randy thing, who knows what happened with Bailey and Roxanne
and then the IC title picture. They're like, hey, but they took that IC title picture and said, we don't know what the to do with this. We're just making a badass fatal 4-way, and it works.
Yeah,
and it works.
I think the intention was always to. I don't know. Actually, maybe I think things probably changed when Penta got introduced for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that and like all the new people they are adding has obviously affected things a lot too. All the new signees, returnees.
acknowledge me.
But back to our triple threat in of itself, and without trying to give too many predictions, I just see it being a match that's going to deliver. And one thing that if I look at it and who am I rooting for, I feel like I'm rooting for Punk, but then he ripped off a Kenny Omega promo. And so when you rip off a Kenny Omega promo, I'm like, well, it kind of soured me a little bit. So I don't know who I'm rooting for. I'm just expecting a good delivery. I'm only looking over to that direction because Mako, I think, just ran into the door. It sounded pretty painful.
I think I'm going for Seth. I don't know. I just like Seth.
That is weird. As much as I love Seth Rollins, this is the one time I feel like I'm going for him the least. He's kind of being a bully. He was being a bully to Paul Heyman. I didn't appreciate that.
So up until that point, I was probably like all in on Seth. And then like, that's just so asinine. Bro, You can't just sit there and spare someone's life and say they owe you a favor now.
Yeah. No. You just don't be that, Seth.
That's not cool. No.
So, looking forward to it, but no more than I'm tongue-tied. No more am I looking forward to than Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. And I didn't think I'd be looking forward to this match, but the build-up to this match has been A1, and they have been doing an excellent job. And I can't. Also, if I'm not mistaken, on the pre-show I was talking about Charlotte Flair getting booed so hard she couldn't talk, and I said it was in London, but I believe it was in Chicago.
Yeah, it was in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's the one ballsy enough to do that. And I was like, I remember I was standing at the island in my kitchen. I was like, what, dude? They won't even let her talk. It's Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton in Chicago. As a handicap match tonight.
So there's something up until that point, I was not feeling the build. I felt like Charlotte kept burying Tiffany.
Yeah. Not even when they were fighting all over the arena.
I mean, so like burying Tiffany on the mic.
Uh-huh.
But, obviously in the physical altercations, especially when Tiffany did that dive from the top,
Yes.
That was crazy. But
that was the moment I was all in on this.
I think so. They've been really like that night. I don't know what to believe, right? For all I know, we're all being worked, and they actually don't hate each other. But everything made it seem like they went off script, and they actually really do hate each other. And so that happened, and I was like, okay, what is going on here? And then they had a brawl before Smackdown. The way Charlotte runs Tiffany's head into the car looks so sick. If you have not seen it, you watch SmackDown, so they showed it, right?
Yeah.
It looks so sick. I'm excited for it. I knew as a match it would probably deliver. The question to me was just like, is Tiffany's nerves versus Charlotte coming back from that injury?
Mm-hmm.
Will they still be able to hold surely they'll hold a decent match, but will it live up to Charlotte's set pay-per-view match standards?
I think it will. We won't get into our predictions. We're doing so well about tiptoeing around them, but as far as match delivery goes, I see, especially with how Tiffany Stratton's been performing throughout this past year. I mean, this will always draw me back. Remember War Games, the women's War Games this past year, and her performance there. You had to know at that point, all right, she's going to do something big at Mania.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not she wins, I won't say yet, but there's a lot of factors to it now that weren't there before. I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
This next one is a big one for a lot of reasons. And what I love, I originally wrote this in the first notes I was doing for this show, and I erased those. I revised them. But one thing I really wanted to touch on when getting to Jey Uso and Gunther was that first Monday night after Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. That was a big one. When Jey Uso came out the night after he won the Rumble to that raucous crowd and like the emotional moment. I mean, that's like one of those, if we were still in the physical media era, I feel like that's one of those like greatest Raw moments, making the DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful moment, and so that's how we started this. That he didn't decide that's when he was going to face Gunther yet, but that was the early seed. We had Gunther came out and spoiled that moment a little bit.
You just made the list.
I think the build again was, I wasn't really feeling the build. And in fact, I think I did enjoy the emotion he displayed that night, but it also felt like he was tripping up a lot, and I started to doubt whether he could handle this.
What?
But then the whole thing with Jimmy, involving Jimmy in this, was very brilliant, and I am so hyped for this.
How about the fact that amidst it, we got a Usos reunion and nobody even like expected it. It was just like casually on Raw. Oh, by the way, the Usos are teaming tonight. Like, what?
That was the night that everyone thought Joe Hendry was going to be.
But going back to again, I didn't want Jey Uso to face Gunther. I thought maybe Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes could be something with the history they have as friends. And I've watched the match. I think a lot of people have that take. I've watched Jey Uso face Gunther so many times. I watched them face each other live, I think, more than anyone. I watched them like 4 or 5 times live for different titles, the IC title and the World Heavyweight title. So I wasn't feeling it, but I will say there's something different about this build-up, especially with involving Jimmy Uso and the beatdown of Jimmy Uso, and like that added so much character to it that wasn't there before.
Drink it in, man.
Gunther coming out and having those open challenges and reminding us why he is in the position he is against the likes of Akira Tozawa. That was a sprint, but a really good sprint. And then that match, that's what I was getting to. Such a good match.
That was a great one. Axiom got to be in front of his home country and shine. I was so happy to see it. I'm glad it wasn't squash. Man, I myself, I haven't been in the loop for a little bit. Everybody on the team knows this. I'm so busy. I'm never really caught up on stuff until I have to be. And I literally watched Elimination Chamber up until, this upcoming Monday night as this is airing. I watched the course of that in 2 days. I literally just spent 2 days, watched it all. The first day I watched it, I remember thinking to myself, I'm not feeling this. This is probably the worst road to WrestleMania we'll ever have. And at the end of the second day, I said, no, there is so much more going on here to be excited for. And there's so much more build than I thought there was. So it's a relief.
You say that, and I admittedly haven't been really super focused on it. I have a lot of things going on in my life as well. I do watch, but I don't know that I really watch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's on, and I'll be sitting down, but I might also be sitting down, working on classwork or putting together stuff for the job or whatever. So, but little moments like the whole the Axiom match. Yes. Frazier had a match on Smackdown too.
Dude, the Frazier. I have a funny story about the Frazier Phoenix match, but go on.
There's all the different things, crazy things that have happened. The fact that Penta and Ray, it's crazy. Somehow this build has really worked, and I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is the worst WrestleMania build," like you did. I thought I felt that, but when I really put everything back together, the Bayley Lyra match,
banger after banger,
it's really good. It's actually really good. There's a lot of good stuff going.
There's been a lot of quality wrestling on television, and that's just something I'm never tired of.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving on up and along here. Oh yeah, before that's what I was my funny story.
Fraser.
So to catch up faster, a lot of times, what I'll do is I watch wrestling in 2x speed. I double the speed and speed things up, and it doesn't affect retaining the information any. And what's funny is I slow it down for Cody Rhodes promo because Cody Rhodes has been hot and nothing but white hot magic on the mic during this build-up. We'll get to that later. But watching things in 2x speed off and on, I watched Nathan Frazier versus Ray Fenix in 2x speed, and that was one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed. It was fast. That was insanity.
Buckle up, Teddy.
You got to go back and watch it on normal speed.
Drink it in, man.
No, I'm going to show off my shirt one more time before we leave Gunther. I'm not saying if I'm rooting for him or not. I'm not saying if I'm predicting him to win or not, but I will say Ring Genitals shirt is available, and it's worth it. It's worth the money.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't put it over enough. Now, this match, arguably, just as, if not a bigger triple threat than the one we were talking about before. This is a main event level triple threat that could have been the main event otherwise.
Should have. I still say it should have, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, but it's had all kinds of twists and turns from, remember, after Elimination Chamber, or on the Elimination Chamber episode, I said, man, what we need is a curve ball. We need to just completely say, you know what? Let's put the title on Io Sky. Why not? And then what happened?
Acknowledge me.
Not only did I call the favor, but
Acknowledge me.
granted, I didn't call Io Sky winning it. I just was like, what if?
It was such a fun moment, man. I remember them. I loved it. And I love that she's in this match. And I love that we have this to me is the three biggest women's stars. Tiffany's up there, but she still has to prove herself, I think.
Right. I can
These are the three biggest women's stars in WWE right now. And they don't get the main event. How the hell does that happen?
I mean, you heard me with Bayley last year. My whole thing with Bayley last year and not getting one, but we'll always have this sort of like quarrels. What I feel like about this triple threat has been important. One, Io Sky walking into WrestleMania as champion 2 years in a row with 2 different titles at that. But this whole build-up has been put some respect on Io Sky's name because she's been over with the fans for a minute, but it's always felt like, when is she going to get that big opportunity? Then she finally got the women's title, then she dropped it, and we're like, well, where does she go from here? And here she is. So put some respect on her name.
The fact that during the build, she has been, feels like she's almost like the third wheel.
Yeah, I think Michael Cole even referenced that, or yeah, it was probably Michael Cole. If not, give Michael Cole the credit. He's old.
The fact that she's the third wheel, she's the champion, and the fact that we might be on the cusp of a Bianca Belair heel turn.
This is the only match I won't tiptoe around prediction on. For that reason is why I'm thinking Io Sky wins it. But that's the only tiptoe touch I'm going to touch on predicting. It's crazy. I know they're like, what? Rhea Ripley doesn't take it? Stop sleeping on Io Sky, guys. Stop it.
I can't say who I predict again, but I need Io Sky to win this match.
I'm for it. I bet you know who else is for it. Mad Mike. Good old Mike Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he's a Io Sky mark.
Damn, is he big? We're going to have an Io Sky.
He's literally gone on record on this show. He's gone on the record and been like, Io Sky is my crush. He's just like, he's too into Io Sky. But hey, I love her as a wrestler, so I don't turn it down.
Yeah, I don't know if I could quite beat that.
Okay, grab my water here. The last one here, the big one that we're all talking about, this has a lot of variables to it, and the variables get touched on week by week with these amazing promos. I mean, Cody Rhodes and John Cena, the most we expected was we need great mic work, and we've gotten that. My whole thing with it, I'm just having mixed feelings with the John Cena heel turn. I don't know how I feel about it fully yet. It's kind of a thing of like, I'm not saying it diminishes his legacy or taints his legacy, things like that. It just feels so off character from what we've known for so long that it feels like you're pushing it too hard. And yeah, but then there's so much truth to it, and there's so much that like has good reality to it that you're like, well, maybe I could believe this. So just a lot of mixed feelings.
I could understand it. It just, I think, to me, it felt like we were kind of tiptoeing a little bit. And then that week where they were both in the ring finally, and like they went off.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the fact that obviously the line everyone's talking about is the one that references a certain other company.
Yeah.
It was funny, I'll give it that. I don't like the whole, especially because that week was full of like back and forth from the different fans, fighting, and I was so tired of it.
Yeah.
For the week leading up to that, but it was a pretty funny line, I'm not gonna lie.
And I mean, the companies, they see that sort of discourse and they're like dollar signs. We want to keep pushing this whole. They will always push the tribalism warfare more than we will, because to them it's money. It's what they know. During Friday's promo, again, Cody Rhodes just being on a streak of cutting nothing but hot promos. And I mean, when it's Road to WrestleMania season, we know Cody Rhodes comes in full effect. But I loved seeing the variations of the WWE titles, and that's why I brought my Eddie Guerrero WWE title today.
Yes.
Got a little bit of reference when we talked about this title. That's the name we put on it, and so crazy because when I see it, I think of JBL, even though I'm holding the Eddie Guerrero version of the belt.
I love that they went and they got, was it Bruno's?
Yes.
They even had Bruno's out there. That was so cool.
That was really cool.
That's cool.
The Italian Stallion.
The most popular champion in wrestling history, Bruno Sammartino.
I'm looking forward to the match nonetheless. Again, mixed feelings aside, I'm looking forward to the match nonetheless.
I just hope we don't get who involved.
Are we talking about the final boss?
Finally!
No.
Oh.
He can be involved. Let's not get any celebrities involved.
I like that aspect, although you're probably knocking on the door of there will be. And I mean, how can there not be with John Cena's willing to do whatever it takes to get this 17th win for him? And that's where, again, we got to save the predictions for the predictions episode, but that's where it gets to be a sort of like 50-50. People see it going one way, another. I know how I feel, but I got to save it.
I'm excited for WrestleMania. It's funny because I don't think I felt that way maybe a week or two ago, but I'm excited again.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for, of course, we're not going to cover it in this video, but of course I'm always excited for Stand and Deliver.
Right.
I'm also thinking, my God, that is like 9 hours of wrestling that I will be watching that day.
Did you remember last season's Road to WrestleMania when we actually covered it all, and then Supercard was still on Road to WrestleMania like it always was? There's a lot that was going on.
Funny, before we leave, funny story. I actually plan on watching Progress. Has a show Thursday, as well as Bloodsport.
Drink it in, man.
And then of course Smackdown, Stand and Deliver, WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2. I'm gonna die.
Rest in peace.
You'll live. You'll be all right. You're fine.
Yeah!
It's what WrestleMania week is, and like it's why we do this. It's part of the gig. Now, before we leave WrestleMania, the last question is: do we see anything possibly getting added to this card? I said maybe Chelsea Green does defend the U.S. title. I'm trying to think what other on
WWE Speed.
What?
No, that doesn't sound fun.
No.
Hey, Phil Ruka is the new Speed champion.
I wouldn't have even known that otherwise.
Oh, you didn't know?
I know. That's the whole reason I brought it up.
Yeah.
I meant to bring it up in the "What do you guys want to talk about" section, but we breezed through it, and I was like, "Oh, well."
That was only set up to show off my ring genital shirt. That was set up.
I would hope they would include at least one of the women's mid-card titles.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing.
And then, of course, there'll always be some sort of skit. Like I said, Miz will have some sort of skit.
Yeah, working on the predictions episode 2, trying to get my predictions aligned. I'm also including in surprises, debuts, returns, what have you. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, you're going to be there for that, and if you're not, the people are just going to have to deal with my solo take.
Lord.
Yeah, you better show up.
Ding dong, hello.
Someone will. This is the only prediction I'm giving. Someone will show off a signed Topps card at some point during the weekend.
Yes, that's okay. That's fair. That's fair. On that note, before we close, also coming up will be the Am I Cooking Finals, and we're currently, as this is being recorded, in a neck-and-neck battle between you and Q, so I don't know who I'm facing yet, but I will be there. The Golden Spatula is in, and
let's go.
I'm keeping it. I want to keep it in the studio.
So, in the event that is somehow a tie, can we do it? Is there a way to do like a triple threat, or are we gonna have to do like rock, paper, scissors?
I've talked about it with Jeffrey, the referee, and we'll get with you on that. But we do have a decision made if it is a tie. So
okay, all right.
And the decision is you have to face each other in a Taipei death match.
Okay. Hold on. Let me
break some glass. All right.
That did not work. All right,
checkpoint cleared. We got the checkpoint cleared out. And go on with our week.